It is my pleasure to introduce the head football coach at the University of Tennessee, Butch Jones.
December 7th, 2012. Butch Jones is announced as the 24th head coach of the UT football program.
Drivers, start your engine!
March 17th, 2013, Jones kicks off the Food City 500 at the Bristol Motor Speedway as the race's Grand Marshal. 7 months later, Jones was back in Bristol for the announcement of one of the biggest events in American sports history. In 3 years' time, the Speedway would host a game between the Tennessee Vols and the Virginia Tech Hokies. The event promised the largest crowd in football history and would be called the Battle at Bristol.
Well, in March, coming here, you couldn't be helped but notice the passion, the excitement that surrounded the race. And, as a football coach, I walked in, I'm like, wow, what if we had a football game here? And now to make this a reality, to be a part of football history is something that is very important to both of our universities, our student athletes, and everything. So I'm just excited to be a part of this special event.
Despite what seemed like a great idea on paper, hosting a football game at Bristol Motor Speedway took decades to come to fruition.
It had kind of fallen through. Coach Dickey was never really interested in it when Doug Dickey was the athletics director, and Mike Hamilton kind of challenged Bruton Smith, said, okay, bring me $20 million to the table like you say you're going to do, and we'll come play. Tennessee's leadership changed over, and then I think as Bruton Smith found some things that he could do to make it happen, and they approached Tennessee with it. Tennessee said, we have to see the plan. And I think when the folks at Bristol came to Knoxville about 3 or 4 months ago and spent some real time with his coaching staff and with Dave Hart and talked about, this is how we're going to do it, and here's all the details of it. And then when Tennessee asked further questions about details, the folks at Bristol had the answer to that, and I think that's where the comfort level in playing the game came from.
Got a question to ask you. How can you move a massive NASCAR scoring tower, move it out of the way, and play a little football? Well, that's going to be a big dilemma that folks here at Bristol will be trying to figure out. Now, they have 3 years to do it, but the process to turn this into college football is well underway.
So how do you turn Thunder Valley's track into turf? Plans were to elevate the ground up to 3 feet to make a solid base for the turf and allow better viewing of the game, along with other renovations that were planned prior to the game's announcement. The huge scoring tower would also have to be moved.
I don't know, you want it at your house or something? No, we'll pull that out, and we're going to evaluate whether it's a temporary move or a permanent move, but we feel comfortable either way that we can make it happen.
With the battle at Bristol 3 years away, there was ample opportunity to use the biggest game in college football history as a tool to recruit new players to the Vols.
Butch was immediately on board, not only for this game, because he understands fully the value in recruiting. Butch is all about recruiting, as you've learned. And so his first response was, man, that would be unbelievable for recruiting, Dave, if we can get that done.
Well, I think it adds to the momentum. I think already people see around the country we have a lot of work to do, but they can see the progress that we're making. And so in all areas, with our current players, recruiting, anything and everything, again, it's an illustration of where we're going in Tennessee.
Butch Jones's first season as head coach was a rocky one for Rocky Top. The Vols went 5-7, losing 4 out of their last 5 games of the season. But with the battle at Bristol looming, there was plenty of time to improve. The countdown had started. Just 2 years left until the battle at Bristol kicked off. Anticipation was building, and so were hopes of a massive crowd.
The one thing I heard was the commentators in the Tech-Ohio State game. 107,000 plus fans here, the biggest crowd in Ohio State history. When we get our 150,000 folks here in Bristol, that'll look like a high school crowd compared to what we'll have here in Bristol.
Out was the behemoth scoring tower. In instead was Colossus, a massive screen that would allow even those fans in the nosebleeds the chance to view the game up close.
Colossus is the world's largest center-hung television, and it's fitting because this is a football stadium on steroids, and it needs the biggest scoreboard around. It adds so much to the experience for race fans. football fans will feel right at home.
We've been waiting for this one for a while, and 1 year from today, it is finally Battle at Bristol time. We're joined now by Bristol Motor Speedway Executive Vice President and General Manager Jerry Caldwell. And Jerry, almost 2 decades about talking just about this game. What's it like that we're only a year away now?
It's surreal, you know. We've been talking about this thing for 2 decades. It's been announced for almost 2 years now. I don't know, it's still sinking in, but it's really become that countdown. We're within a year now, and it's very real.
Well, it's Battle Friday. Do you know what that is? That means UT fans have a chance to get their hands on tickets for next year's Battle at Bristol. We are so pumped about this, and so are UT fans, Katie Roach. She is live at Bristol Motor Speedway, where fans have been lined up for 24 hours now. They're just having a good time, eating breakfast together, trying to get their tickets, Katie.
That's exactly what's happening here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Good morning to you, Abby. It's really hard to show you in one camera shot exactly how many people are here, but hundreds of fans, mainly Vol fans, have come to Bristol Motor Speedway to get their hands on those all-important Battle at Bristol tickets for that game coming up next year. We want to bring in Jerry Caldwell, now General Manager at Bristol Motor Speedway, and not that it was unexpected, but it's great to see all these people out here.
It is. You know, we planned for it, but this is quite the turnout by whatever time it is now, 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
We've had people here since yesterday morning that was the first time we'd let them start getting in line. We had turned some away prior to that. So
oh my goodness.
It's a great turnout.
The fans' patience was rewarded after some waited over 30 hours to get their chance to attend the battle at Bristol. And Steve Quiggle was the first to get his tickets for the game.
I'm tickled to death. I didn't think I was going to be able to get them, you know, so I got here extra early, you know, for that purpose, because I wasn't sure how many people were going to be here, so I wanted to ensure that I did get them.
As the game drew closer, so did the pomp and circumstance. Like the boxing matches of old, an official poster was drawn up to celebrate such a momentous occasion in sports history.
When I heard they were finally actually going to do it, I thought that would be a great opportunity to do a poster. So I thought, how could I position myself to actually get to do this poster for the game? It's all digital, but all hand-drawn. Sometimes people, when you tell people you did it on the computer, they're like, oh, well, anybody can do that, you know, just click a few buttons. I wanted to create a poster that was equal to both teams, just in the spirit of competition and the fact that this game has been talked about for so long. And that Bristol Speedway is right in the middle between these two schools. I just think it's so unique. And so I just wanted to create a poster that both fan bases could enjoy. I wanted to not only include football and the mascots, but I wanted to include part of the campuses. Because I think that's part of what's unique about college football is, you know, it's not just the football team, it's the schools and the tradition and the history.
We are less than a month away from the Battle at Bristol, and today we found out what the prize will be for the team who wins this historic college football game. And they're expecting, of course, a big game. They're promoting it as the biggest ever, so they wanted a big trophy. Jody Nielsen was the winner of the trophy design contest, and she certainly gave them a ginormous trophy. It weighs 88 pounds, standing about 2 feet tall, and took around 300 hours to make.
My friend Alan came into my office and said, hey, you know, there's this trophy contest. Let's do this idea. He was thinking, we'll incorporate the track and incorporate just football in general. So having the track kind of lifting the football out of it would be the best representation. I looked at a couple other trophies, and there were a couple that were like pretty nice, but a couple that were like, they could have designed that better.
The trophy is amazing. Now, I'm a little bit worried if we're fortunate enough to win the game that Butch will try to lift it and be hospitalized. 88-pound trophy. But we would live with that if we could come away with a win. But that'll be a tough football game.
AstroTurf is arriving today with our football field. And so the football field will be staged. We're coordinating the path that they'll take, and they will begin rolling green out middle of this week.
12 days to go, and it's going to be upon us.
Years turned into months, and months turned into days. It was almost time for the battle at Bristol. Those that had lived with the project since the idea was sparked decades prior were excited to see everything come to fruition.
Everyone said, this is a pipe dream, it's not going to happen. And so to be here on this field, to see the final pieces of the puzzle, 101,000 square feet of turf down and all the fencing down at Bristol, and see the sight lines and Colossus, I mean, it's going to be an incredible event. I mean, a record, a special night, and I think a great football game.
What do you want the fan to get out of this experience?
Our motto at Bristol Motor Speedway is to exceed expectations. And that's what we want to do. We want to exceed their expectations. We want them to come in and leave saying, wow.
Welcome to downtown Bristol, where I am literally walking the state line between Tennessee and Virginia right now, and people are getting ready for the biggest football game in college history.
Go Vols! Woo!
Woo, woo, woo! Go Vols! Baby, we got it! Woo!
I mean, there's people from 50 states here in 4 different countries, so we're glad to showcase our town.
That's Smokey the Grim Reaper. He's here to bury all the SEC schools.
With the Speedway about 100 miles from Knoxville, the battle at Bristol brought out the most hardcore of Vol fans.
With the Tennessee guillotine chopping off a gator's head.
This legendary bike hit the streets of Bristol, and its owner had an equally legendary name.
John Wayne.
And he wasn't the only one in town with a famous name.
What's your first and last name?
Butch Jones.
The hotels in the area quickly filled up, and those that were available skyrocketed in price. The next best option, bring your own place to stay. RV parks stretched far and wide near the stadium, including a group of nearly 50 friends who brought 10 RVs between them.
You divide and conquer, so each family kind of takes a meal. A ton of food, you know, from tacos to hamburgers, anything you can think of.
A house divided even became a house united when a diehard Hokies fan married her partner that had orange in his blood on the weekend of the big game.
When we decided on a date, it just fit right in with Battle of Bristol. So we said, this is our kickoff.
Game day was almost here. For the second time in history, a football game would be played at Bristol Motor Speedway. The first was in September of 1961, when an NFL exhibition game was held at the Speedway. One Vols fan would be lucky enough to attend both games.
It's an awesome experience. I'm a Redskins fan, so the Redskins were playing the Philadelphia Eagles. My father used to announce ball games for WOPI radio station here, and I used to help him do ball games. And he ended up getting a couple of free tickets, and he was a diehard Redskin fan, so he and I both decided we were going to go, and we sat down there and we enjoyed it. It's a big experience. I'm definitely glad I went. It's pretty hard to see. You had to look across, you know, like maybe 6 or 7 lanes of the racetrack, and then about 3 rows of the pit road, and then into the infield. It's pretty tough. I'm going to be there. They'll be on my 66th birthday, so I'm having a big party down there, inviting 160,000 people.
It's finally here, the battle at Bristol. We're inside Bristol Motor Speedway right now. Just a little while ago, Tennessee made its way into the stadium, walking across the Orange Bridge at the Vol Walk. Butch Jones and the Vols getting ready to take on Virginia Tech.
After the decades of talks, the 3 years of waiting after the formal announcement, it was finally football time in Bristol, Tennessee. After trailing 14-0 in the first quarter, the Vols had a massive second quarter, putting 24 points on the board. The Hokies didn't have an answer for Tennessee as the second half played out much like the first, with the final score of Tennessee 45, Virginia Tech 24. The Vols hoisted up the 88-pound trophy in celebration of their victory. When the final count was tallied, a whopping 156,990 people were in Bristol Motor Speedway to witness the most attended football game in history.